What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? This is Ty behind the camera from Ty Drives, and this in front of me is the 2022 Audi A6 with the 55 TFSI motor, meaning we have the turbocharged V6, and in the mid premium plus trim level. So throughout this video, we're going to take a walk around the exterior, check out what kind of features this vehicle has. Then we'll pop the hood, see what powers this vehicle, and also what other powertrains you can get with the A6. We'll then take a look at the trunk space and move forward to the rear seats, see what kind of amenities are back there, and finally to the front seats, and we'll check out the driver's cockpit and sort of all of the features in between. Now you're going to want to make sure to stay tuned to the end of the video because we'll be strapping this GoPro to my head and we'll be getting a little bit of a first-person driving experience with this A6, so we'll get to see what it's like to drive this vehicle. Full LED headlamps up front so we can see the high and low beams, daytime running lights, as well as the turn signals are all LED powered. We also have headlight washers, and down below and kind of spanning throughout the front bumper we have the parking sensors. We can see more sensors to either side of the blacked out Audi rings for your adaptive cruise control and front warnings. And also, below the blacked out Audi logo, we have a front view camera system. Nice long sort of sloping hood with some pretty neat creases towards the outside. And this vehicle has the black optic sport package, which means you get some pretty nice looking wheels. Now we have sort of the machine face of the wheel and some sort of titanium sort of colored pockets on the inside. As you can see, 255/40 are the tire measurements, and the wheels measure up at 20 inches. But again, black optic package, so we have black elements all the way around the windows and surrounds for the grille, the front grille. It's a really nice package. It kind of blacks out this vehicle, and it goes along nice with the black exterior color. Taking a walk around to the side, we have LED turn signals on the mirrors, and we also have your blind spot indicator on the inside. All four door handles have the smart key entry, so you just tap the little pad there to lock and hand behind the handle to unlock, and that's for all four door handles. As you can see, this car stickers for just under $68,000, and we have the Premium Plus package, black optics, and a couple of other accessories that come with this vehicle. Oversized sunroof. I wouldn't exactly say it's panoramic, but it is a larger sunroof than your traditional vehicle would have. And back here we have some very nice wheels as well as the front. Up top we have a shark fin antenna, and of course full LED tail lamps too. So we have the dynamic turn signals, which are really neat. The tail lights, brake lights, all LED powered, and it's pretty neat painted black strip that goes through the tail lamps and throughout the deck lid. We also have the blacked out A6 logo and the blacked out sort of faux exhaust back here too. We have parking sensors and cameras for the rear, and right underneath the Audi rings we have the release for the trunk. What do we think on the style of the A6? I think it's a really good looking vehicle, especially with the black paint on the outside and the black optic sport package. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Alrighty, so under the hood of this particular A6 we have the 55 TFSI, which in Audi language represents a 3-liter turbocharged V6. It's good for 335 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. So pretty good numbers from the V6. But if you don't need all that power, they also make a 45 engine, which translates to a 2-liter turbocharged inline-4 with 261 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. And both of those motors will be hooked up to a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, which is pretty nice. And of course, if you want even more power than either of these two engines in the A6, you can step up to the S6, which has quite a bit more power than both of these. So under the hood, it's pretty tidy. We do have quite a bit going on, but a relatively small engine cover. You can see, at least see the valve covers and whatnot. And you see the accessible fluids, the windshield washer, and the oil ad is right over there. And this car is also a mild hybrid vehicle, which means it has a small electric engine that turns the motor in certain situations instead of using the starter. Alright, so stepping around back, we can see the trunk pops open nicely. If the car is not equipped with the powered trunk like this one is not, you could see it pops open very nicely. Of course you can get a powered trunk lid, but for this one, you know, it is a manually closing trunk lid, but a pretty large trunk nonetheless. We have extensions off to each side. You could see our carpeted and the all-weather floor mats back here. You have tie downs and 12-volt power outlets back here, as well as some grocery bag hangers. Take a look underneath the cargo floor. We have a full-size spare tire and the subwoofer for the audio system. Alright, next we could take a look at the rear seats. I have a full black interior to match the black exterior. But we do have some nice elements that lighten up the interior, such as the nice wood grain and the sort of matte aluminum trim throughout the vehicle. We have a 16 speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system, very nice. A couple of speakers on the rear door. Pretty nice attention to detail on the leather too. Now this is sort of the more basic grade of leather. You can also upgrade to having a different material of leather with the ventilated seats. When we fold the seat down, it goes relatively flat, and that gives you extra storage to put whatever you like from the trunk into the interior. You can also fold down the ski hatch. There's a little latch right in there to fold that down. And you also have the center armrest, which has some storage and room to put a couple of cups back there too. Let's take a look at how much room we have back here. This being the A6, it is the larger sedan, and due to the memory seats, the seat actually backs up quite a bit when you shut the vehicle off, so expect a little bit more leg room. I'm about 5'10", and again, you know, the seat scoots back, so you're going to have a little bit more leg room if you're about my size. Back here we have an individual temperature zone back here, and 2 USB-C charging, and a 12-volt charger as well. But pretty roomy back here. Now this seat right here will probably be more an accurate representation of how much room you'd have back here. We have some illumination up here, your grab handles and coat hooks and everything like that. And it's pretty simple back here, but it is a very nice and spacious place to be. Now we also have electronic door handles to get out of the vehicle, as you can see. And finally we could check out the front cabin here. Let's see what the driver's cockpit looks like. Very similar design to the rear doors. You know, same use of materials, you know, such nice soft leather up here and down all the way to your armrest. We have the bright work and the wood as well. We also get 2-person memory seats for the front driver's seat. We also have individual locks here for the rear doors for the child locks, power folding and heated mirrors, as well as a little trunk release. And you have a couple of speakers on the door as well. And from this angle you kind of see the blind spot warning indicator a little bit better. Onto the side of the dash you have your headlights and fog lights controls. And down here you can kind of see the little knob for the tilt telescoping steering wheel. Of course it's powered. And we have this pretty large tray that folds down right here, and you could pretty much, I mean, you can fit your owner's manual in that tray, so it's a very large sort of deep tray that goes in. We have the hood release and the pedals down here too. Full powered seats with the full-way lumbar, nice contrast stitching as well. pretty nice vehicle so far. So with that being said, let's hop in and check out the rest of the interior. Alright, so here's the key for the A6, much like other keys to other Audis. We have the lock, unlock, trunk release, and panic alarm on the back. And also on the back you have a little button here to release the bottom key, so the physical key in case you need to use it. And they give you a pretty nice little key holder right here in the center console to put it. When you start the A6, the steering wheel kind of lowers into the position and the memory seats do their job. And you also get this pretty neat welcoming sound, which is pretty cool. Like, I can't say I've had many cars that have had a welcoming sound, so Audi's really the only one that I know of that does that. Anyways, let's start here on the steering wheel. Very nice smooth leather and very comfortable to hold in your hand. We also have contrast stitching on the inside. Paddle shifters to either side as well, pretty small ones just poking out from behind the spokes. As far as controls, we have all of the controls for the virtual cockpit up there. We also have your media controls and whatnot over here, so the Bluetooth telephone controls, your voice commands, your audio volume, as well as skipping between different tracks. And you also have a programmable button, so you can kind of go within the MMI screen and kind of program what you want that button to do. Pretty neat. We have a couple of stalks behind the steering wheel, so two to the left. This one controls your turn signals, your automatic high beams, and you can also turn on and off the lane keep assist with the button at the end. We also have this knob right down here with your adaptive cruise control settings, and we also have this one to the right to control your wipers. Alright, so virtual cockpit. You can use this array of buttons here to configure what you see within the screen. We have a bunch of different things you can go through within the vehicle information. You have the driver's assistance, the lane keep assist will come up, as well as your the speed limit to each road that you're on, your trip settings, and all that good stuff. You can also move over to see the audio screen, the phone screen, as well as the navigation. And at any point you could just press the view button and what's in the center gets larger. So it has to do with all of the different screens, which is pretty neat there with the virtual cockpit. You can also adjust the layouts for the virtual cockpit as well. If I could find it through the screen here, you just kind of go to the displays and brightness, and you can display 3 different views for your gauges there, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty neat. I think we'll leave it up on this one. That's pretty neat there. The dynamic gauges, as Audi calls it. Up top we have a pretty nice dash, pretty soft to the touch with some more stitching. And we can also come down here. We have a couple of air vents and a nice sort of shelf of wood. I always kind of like that design on the A6s. You have this sort of upright piece of wood like this. Pretty neat. So, MMI screen here. We have a bunch of different functionalities and a couple of different home screens you could kind of choose between. This one has your radio, telephone, and nav all in one screen. And this one will kind of display all of your apps throughout the vehicle. You can set up different users and check the weather and things like that. We also have our radio screen right here with all of your channels right in the center. You can click to get our different sources. We have our media and phone screen, as well as the navigation, which you click and get your map right here. And then you can also input a destination right up there. We have phone apps, which has to do with the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Our vehicle screen, where we can select your different drive modes. So you have comfort, auto, dynamic, and individual. And in individual, you can customize a few different things. Going back, we have a bunch of different things you can customize throughout the vehicle screen here. We have the driver's assistance, which we could set different presets on that. You turn on and off those systems there. We have settings for your servicing and all kinds of good stuff. We also have our favorites and our quick general settings here as well. We also have the sound settings. pretty good amount of customability with this Bang & Olufsen sound system. You could really kind of get into it with customizing how it sounds. It's surround sound system, 3D sound. It has all that good stuff built into the sound system. Very nice sort of sound that comes out of the sound system. Taking a look down below, we have a completely separate screen that mainly houses just your climate control. So you have either temperatures to either side, where you want the air to blow, and then the fan speed in the center. We have heated seats up front, kind of missing cooled seats in this car, as well as heated rear seats. Kind of I would expect to see that in a car of this price point, but that's okay. We have heated steering wheel, and we can also control the rear climate control and everything like that with the little extras button down there. We also can shut off your auto start stop system and also get your garage door home links throughout this smaller screen down here as well. More physical buttons down here. They're actually kind of a capacitive touch button. You can get the quick drive mode select. You can turn on or off your traction control and your hazards. And you have also some quick defrosters here, the front and rear defrosters. We have the start stop for the engine, and take a look at the camera system. So pressing this button down here will activate the parking sensors and the camera system. So we have a wide angle front view, sort of a normal front view, the top down view, which will always kind of be over here, but if you want a larger one, you could do that. Have a rear view, a wide angle rear view, as well as the front and rear wheels. But with all these different views, you also have a party trick. You press the 3D and you get a 3D view. Now, how Audi stitches all these pictures together to make it look that good, I'm not too sure, but it does look very, very good. If you're trying to get close to a curb or something like that and you don't want to get curb rash on your wheels. Very intuitive camera system. We also have a quick shortcut button for the driver's assistance. We have our volume knob over here, which also doubles as a skip to different tracks or different radio stations. Again, as I mentioned, under the hood we have a 7-speed dual clutch transmission for both the 2-liter and 3-liter motors. So again, yeah, 7-speed dual clutch transmission, of course, quattro all-wheel drive. Straight down into drive, we can also bump it over into a manual mode, or also leave it into drive and just sort of bump it down, which will put the transmission into a sport mode. And then all the way up is for reverse, where your parking camera will pull up, and then just press the P for park. We also have the electronic parking brake right here, a couple of cup holders, and a 12-volt power outlet. Nice slab of wood down here, and it does actually feel pretty real, so you have a nice graining to it. We have a adjustable height armrest, so as you can see, you can kind of adjust it like so. You can open that up and you see an LED light and 2 USB-C chargers in there. And thanks to the global chip crisis, one of the things that you lose out with this particular A6 is the Audi phone box, which has the wireless charging pad. So we have a nice passenger area over here. Really nice design to the dashboard. We have the little Quattro nameplate there and some wood. A lockable glove box you can open up, pretty large, all felt lined with a pen holder and illumination. Up here we have a nice frameless mirror with the auto dimming and your compass. We have some tap lights up here, which are LED and sort of all on lights, SOS controls and things like that. And we have one control that powers the sunshade and sunroof. So take a look at that. You can open up the sunroof like so, and it is a powered shade, which is very nice. And you can also use the same control to tilt or slide the sunroof. Completely black headliner too, I forgot to mention, but I'm sure you could see that. A couple other things we can't forget to mention are the visors with the mirror and lights, also card holders and grab handles. So, with all of that being said, and that was quite the mouthful because this car has quite a bit of features to talk about, let's see what this thing is like out on the road. Alright, so here we are in the 2022 A6 3.0T. Well, they don't call it 3.0T anymore. They call it the 55 motor, so which means a 3-liter turbocharged V6, as I said before. let's get it out on the road and see what it's like to drive. Now we're gonna start off the drive in the auto mode, which will kind of cycle between comfort and dynamic depending on how you're driving. But actually we're gonna switch it over to comfort. We'll see what it's like there. And then when we get on the back roads and we do the acceleration, we'll switch to dynamic, and I'll let you know when we're gonna do that. But basically throughout this drive, I'm gonna take it down to the dead end here, and we'll test out the turning circle. Then we'll get it out onto more of a straight road, sort of like a state highway, and we'll get it up to, you know, speeds of, you know, 45, 50 miles an hour. We'll see what it's like at that speed, you know, kind of check the wind noise, the tire noise, and all that good stuff, and the comfort at that speed. Turning circle is pretty good for a car of this size. Definitely a little bit bigger, but of course it is a little bit of a bigger car. But the majority of this video we're gonna spend on a nice Connecticut back road. You know, there's lots of elevation change, lots of bumpiness, lots of curves, lots of twisties, and we'll get an acceleration clip, see how the V6 turbocharged V6 handles acceleration. And we'll also leave it in automatic mode when we'll do the acceleration, so we can see how fast the transmission reacts to the throttle inputs. There's also a pretty bumpy section of that road, and we'll really get to test out how the suspension handles those bumps. As you can see, the car has detected the lanes on the lane keeping assist. Again, you have a really nice shortcut button right at the end of your turn signal stalk for that, to turn it on and off. And I can tell you, if we don't get to demonstrate it, it's a pretty non-intrusive system. So it's very compliant, and, you know, it doesn't jerk you around in the lanes, or it doesn't beep or anything like that. You know, just kind of make sure that you're driving safely and you're within your own lane. Let's see, okay, he's gonna pick up the lines. And as you see, the little lane turns red, and it just gently steers you back into your lane. This is a really neat gauge setup with this car. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. And now we're up at 50 miles an hour. It's supremely quiet in here. There's really no wind noise, even from the mirrors, just a slight amount of tire noise. But the sound insulation on this car is very good. At this point, we're gonna drop it into dynamic mode. And we'll get the car up to about 25 miles an hour going up this hill. I'll sort of mash the throttle and see how fast the transmission reacts, and see how fast we can get up to speed. And so yeah, definitely a very quick reaction from the dual clutch transmission. You know, it changed from third to second very quickly, and changed from second to third very quickly. So definitely a plus of this car in the performance sector. And the 3-liter turbo has plenty of power. You know, some other rivals may have more power, but this is more than you need. The 335 horsepower. So definitely some pretty brisk acceleration if you need it with the A6 with the turbocharged V6. There's also quite a bit of torque with this vehicle too, 369 pounds-feet, as I said earlier, of torque. And you could definitely feel that in the mid-range power. So, you know, you have your RPMs within 2,000 to 3,000 RPMs, and you just kind of ease into the throttle. You have plenty of power. in that mid-range. So we do have some pretty large wheels in this vehicle. They are 20-inch wheels, part of the Black Optic Sport package, and no complaints in the ride department. Even though they are a little bit larger wheels with smaller sidewalls, it still is a very, very comfortable riding car. And not a whole lot of noise going over the bumps from these tires either, so it's just a very quiet, smooth ride. And a pretty enjoyable ride too with the back roads. You know, you have plenty of power. The steering does weigh up a little bit. It's still pretty, a pretty muted feel from the steering, but it definitely does weight up a little bit in dynamic. Just watch the RPMs there, just how fast they go down when you change gears. The DSG is really just a great transmission. You know, the only thing I would have to complain about this transmission is it can be slightly jerky when you're just taking off or you're at very low speeds, you know, under 5 miles an hour. You know, that's the only point where it's just not supremely smooth. Otherwise, you know, it's just an impeccable transmission, really is. Okay, so going over the most bumpy section of the road, it's definitely a very solid ride, but it's also very comfortable at the same time. And that is what truly sets the Audis or even German vehicles in you know, generalizing apart from any other vehicles, just the solidity of the ride. Now the seats in this vehicle are also very comfortable. You know, you have the 4-way lumbar and all the adjustments within the seats. You can get a different style of seat too, as more of a comfort seat with massaging and cooling and all of that good stuff. But this is the more basic seat that we have here, and it has plenty of side support, plenty of thigh support for me too. And you could really get to sit a little bit lower down in the car, which is what I like to do when getting in a car. I like to sit a little bit lower towards the ground. I just love this transmission in this car. And you know what? It's not a half bad handler either. You know, going around the corners, you obviously have some body roll because it's a very comfort-oriented suspension setup. But it's not too bad in the corners. You know, you don't feel much push or body roll. It's really pretty good. Alright, we'll give it one more half throttle acceleration up here, going up the hill. Quite sure what this guy is in the middle of the road, so we don't get that good of acceleration, but okay, so making our way back into home base here. What are my wrap-up thoughts on the 2022 Audi A6? I've always really liked this size of car. You know, it's definitely big enough if you have 2 kids. So if you go on a road trip, you know, you, your wife, your 2 kids, perfectly comfortable, plenty of cargo space in here. So I really think this is a great size for a family sedan. You do have a good amount of features for the price too. I'm not going to say a great amount of features, but for $68,000 you do have a really fancy looking interior with enough features. There's a couple of things that may be missing on this car, such as, you know, the cooled seats up front and the heated seats out rear. You know, that would have been really nice to see. Again, $68,000 is quite a bit to pay for a car, even these days with all of the markups and everything like that. But, you know, a couple of features missing on this car, but you can easily add them for a little bit of an extra cost. But, so that's pretty much my wrap-up thoughts on the A6. I hope you have enjoyed it just as much as I have, and I also hope you stay with us here at Ty Drives for more videos just like this one.